Spring has sprung, which means the weather will be getting nicer. You're going to want to be out and about, and you're going to want to look your best. Stop into Glory Days Barbershop and see my buddy Kyle to get that fresh cut for spring. Glory Days is located on the northwest corner of Cherry and Simmons Streets in Galesburg, right across from Coney Island. Walk-ins are welcome. Call ahead to reserve your spot in the chair. Tell Kyle the Dirty D.O sent you. On today's episode, I sit down with a connoisseur, if you will. The man can point you into the right directions for the best breakfast to fit your cravings. He will impress you with just how much breakfast a stomach can hold if you just put your mind to it. A recently retired union operator, he can also share his growing knowledge of cruise ships, as he can often be found sailing the sea in total relaxation. His level of food art is honestly as impressive as you will ever see. The man is still active in his community. He supports the causes that mean the most to him. He is a father, a grandfather, a friend. Please welcome to the Dirty D.O, Mr. Randy Bryan. Welcome, Randy, and thank you for sitting down for the Dirty D.O podcast. I appreciate it.
Glad to be here, Chad.
All right. It kind of seems like deja vu. We've had some technical difficulties, so we're back at it to give it another shot. First things first, as I said in the intro, you are a connoisseur of breakfast foods.
Love breakfast.
So what and where was breakfast today?
Well, bad day for that. I actually did a breakfast shake, which is totally off for me. So if I'm a little off today, that's because of that.
But did you have breakfast for lunch or anything?
I did not, but I might have it for dinner.
Oh, okay.
And if I do, it would be at probably Solitos.
All right, because I know there's always a breakfast somewhere in your...
This is a rare day. It's maybe one out every 2 weeks just because I feel like I'm a little fat, so I'm trying to get rid of some inner intestinal sugars, so I just skipped it because I'll drink a half a gallon of iced tea when I eat. So
right. Well, it's every once in a while you got to clean yourself up a little bit. So while we're on the subject, since you are the king of breakfast in the area, I guess what would be your favorite local? I'm gonna say top 3 locally places to go.
The All-American City at Solitos. I can't even eat it all, and it's $14. It's delicious. Solitos, the old Casa. When I go to Judy's, the go-to is, what do they call that? The breakfast horseshoe.
Okay.
And I get a couple extra eggs with it. Scrambled. It's basically scrambled eggs on top of gravy, on top of biscuits, on top of hash browns. It's pretty damn good.
This kind of sounds like the old Shitler from Hardee's. I don't know if you ever, is that too young for you?
Well, yeah. If I don't know how I missed that, but yeah.
Well, it's kind of like after, when you're your young 20s, you close down the bars, you go in the Hardee's.
Oh.
You just say, give me the Shitler. Well, anyways, they take all the breakfast food, pile it in one of their styrofoam things and cover it with gravy.
That sounds great. I see.
You can't go wrong.
My age, we actually had the Broadview.
Oh, okay.
They had a buffet.
Oh, really?
After the bars closed, yeah.
Oh, my.
Breakfast buffet.
Could you imagine?
Oh, yeah.
That would be all right. Not only does he love to eat breakfast, he loves to play with his breakfast. His breakfast art is, I won't even say second to none, it's just the top. For those of you who are friends with him on Facebook, most of you probably are, excuse me, you'll be able to scroll back and find some, well, actually on the thumbnail, there's a SpongeBob. I was always fond of the Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But I think it started with a Washington or something.
I think Washington was my first one. And I don't know, it was 2017. I can remember specifically when I did them all, but I was going through a dark time, Chad.
Yeah.
That's
all right.
I would sit there, and if something kind of resembled something, I just started creating, and I did Washington, and it looked pretty good. And then I did Lincoln, which it looks like Lincoln, but it's kind of chintzier, I would say.
Right.
And then when I did Donald, I mean, it was...
Oh, spot on. It was unreal. Like
great.
It was actually unreal. And I believe it was so good. What'd you say? Chad Banks was going to send them out to who?
Yeah, when he seen them, he wanted copies to there's like an email you can send stuff to Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh,
and he might bring it up or talk about it.
Right.
He had some kind of, I don't know, a 10-minute slot where he did local things or something, but nothing ever become of it.
Well, you'll have to start getting back into the arts. It's always comical to me, as much as I genuinely, I don't know why, I genuinely appreciate when you would do it, because like they were so spot on. It's just, if I was in a restaurant, with my family, I look over and there's some guy sitting by himself, playing with his food, giggling, taking pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Arranging things.
It is. I actually would kind of laugh, just thinking what this must look like. And then you reach the point where I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
But the good thing is when you're retired, that's the stuff you do.
It is. Now
And
I have time for it.
speaking of retired, you're in month 10-ish,
Yes.
9 or 10 of retirement.
April, let's see. Yeah, this is the 10th month. April will be the 11th month.
So Randy was an operator, equipment operator for the local 649 Operators Union. Is that what it is?
Yep.
And you were there for how long?
26 years. I started in June of 99, got done June of 24.
Okay. So for those who may be like operators, Randy played in the dirt. He would start the process of whether it be a building or whether it be a bridge or whatnot.
The dirt half is like, it's kind of called site work, civil work, stuff like that. We'd go in, whether it be a road or stuff like that, you'd build whatever needs built, and then, of course, then the concrete people or the asphalt paving people come in, or the people putting up a building and stuff. So it was the dusty, dirty stuff, but I like that kind.
Right.
It was bad because of rain. If you got rain in the spring, you'd be done for a few days.
But essentially, without you guys, nothing gets built.
Yeah.
So your job has to be done and done
I don't
correctly.
know how they're doing it without me, to be honest with you.
I don't either. It's probably why we don't see a whole lot going on. I would say, so you did some local stuff. I know the Gates Bridge.
Yep.
You got to play in that dirt for a while. You got to build a pond out there along I-74 while doing that.
Yeah, and just for the listeners, that was premeditated from the city. They give the company the permission to dig that. That is a low spot, and if that ever does develop out there, that is a storm retention area.
Oh, okay.
So the city kind of got the retention area dug for them, and then we got enough dirt to build the extension.
Yeah, I guess I always thought it's just where you were getting the dirt from, and it filled in. And
it was, but
it serves
was
a double purpose.
Yeah, it does serve another purpose.
Which that's always a good thing, I suppose. So as an operator, do you guys are you trained on one thing, multiple things? Do you show up to work and say, hey, you're running this equipment today, or is it typically what's going on?
When they call you, it's for a specific piece of equipment. That's how I got started. I could run an excavator, like a rubber-tired backhoe, the ones you see driving down the road, scoop in the front, hoe in the back.
Yeah.
But then as you get going, we have a training site. I would take classes, dozer, and all these GPS, all the different things, because you kind of sell yourself when they call for positions. If you can't run the equipment, they go right past you. So, through the years, you learn other things, so you're more marketable, so to speak. Because every year, you're pretty much, somebody different, someplace different. There are about 10% of the guys that, like your brother. He got sent to that concrete plant, and that is a year-round thing. So he likes it, and you stay there.
Right.
But dirt jobs, you go out there and you do it. You build the road, and it's over.
Right.
So the next year you go to a different contractor.
All right. So you can do other things, but typically you are the same.
I was pigeonholed in the excavator pretty much. Yeah.
So you also, with the skill set, you volunteered some time, your services for when Knoxville built their field and their track. What all did that entail? I guess I obviously entailed a lot, but I guess your role.
I guess when I say we, there's a few of us kind of pushing for it because we could see there's no home track meets. Kids are running on the streets to practice, things like that. So we just started bringing it up. The first time we brought it up, the state was having some money issues. I'm going to estimate that was 2009. or something. So we just dropped it. We're like, we're not even going to talk about it if the schools are having trouble getting by. So then things got turned around. We brought it back up in 11. And so we got equipment donated. The school just had to buy fuel and then whatever materials we needed. And then everybody who came out there it was purely volunteer. You know, there were things the school bid out, like electrical things. Obviously, we're not going to be out there trying to do that. Any plumbing, because you got to be a licensed plumber, they bid that out. They bid the paving of the track, the rubberized of the track, the lights. And it was funny back then because it seemed like everything was $200,000.
Oh yeah,
lights $200,000, paving $200,000. You know, but a lot of things got done. Shane Larson's company designed it for free, and then his dad Dennis, he was out there practically every day. So when we'd be at work, by about 50% through the project, he had learned to form stuff. So we'd be at work, he'd form things. We'd come there at night. And, be 20, 30 guys, pour a bunch of concrete till dark.
Yeah.
And so it got done. It was it took a lot of Indians on that one.
Oh, I bet. I'm not knocking the design crew that you mentioned, but at what point did anybody realize the design was flawed?
It was afterwards, I would say.
Because it got through a pretty long process to realize, we
were
built
just
this
so
wrong.
glad to get it. I mean,
I get it. I mean, it's nice, obviously.
Yeah. But yes, having a north run out would have, in hindsight, and it's like, as soon as that was mentioned, it's like, oh, Jesus Christ, I didn't.
Well, I think a lot of people, when you first tell them, there's still room at the other end, at the south, right? But 10 feet after finish line, you have a fence. Mm-hmm. So if you can't stop 10, you know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, I've often wondered, it looks good from an aerial picture. It serves its purpose, but it's wrong.
Yeah,
and I'm not knocking the free labor. I'm not knocking any of that. It was an oversight. I get it. The excitement of getting it going, but
if you're to look at it, if they were to knock into the concrete, like saw cut some of that of the sidewalk that goes around, just that big pad up by the concession stand, and then you would have to remove some dirt. I would say, like, the next time they look at rubberizing that, re-rubberizing it, that'd be a good time to do it. All they'd have to do is extend it.
Which I believe, I can't remember how long those last. That should be coming up because that's been over there for what?
It was rubberized in 2012.
So it's 13 years old.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's something that can be done. You just pull that fence out and you make the basically berms on the run out. And, it would change where people stand, I guess, for the football games, but
not too much though. No, really, it shouldn't. No. It might put a fence in their way a little bit.
Yeah,
maybe not. If you have a retaining wall, maybe you don't need a.
But if you look how far it goes out to the south, it's not that far.
Right.
You wouldn't lose a lot, but yes, in hindsight, that would have been great to do the first time.
I just know running my time as a coach, running a sectional meeting here, and we'd announce, hey, we're going to run the 100 backwards, the opposite way. Well, what if it's windy? Like, I guess you're running in the wind. Well, so it was touchy. It got heated a few times, and I don't blame people, but
there was a lot
nothing you can do.
There was a lot of chiefs on that. From the school side, they wanted it to where it could also be a soccer field. That's why the drains are where they're at, and it could be a soccer field. And we were all like, of course, everybody helping on that's Knoxville graduate, and we're like, for why?
Well, it's like we're building for something that's never been.
It's never gonna.
Probably never going to.
No.
Instead of building for what we do.
Exactly.
But I guess, what do you do at this point? You also, you stay active in the community. You are in charge of, or the boss of, however you want to put it, the Galesburg Labor Day Parade. You've been doing that quite a while, correct?
Yeah, about, I'd say 10, 12 years.
Okay. And Galesburg is now, as of COVID year, the longest consecutive running Labor Day parade in America.
Correct.
But it's not the longest parade in America.
Yeah, the oldest is New York.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, like that started before the Galesburg one. It's 3 years is New York City, but they had the break with COVID, so we are the longest consecutively running.
So what's the interesting story? How did we do a COVID one parade and they didn't?
We got the wild idea of because you have to get a parade permit for City of Galesburg, and we about a week out, we were like, we would like to pass New York. So we was talking to the city, and they kind of, they got a million things to do.
Right.
But the parade is one of the million things. And we're like, hey, we kind of like do it. And they're like, we can't be having things with people. And we're trying to explain to them, we're not going to tell anybody, nobody. We're just going to.
Did they even shut down the streets, or did you just drive on the right side of the road?
We just drove. We drove on the correct side. You think about it. Labor Day during COVID at 10 o'clock in the morning. I think 2 other cars drove by.
Right.
So, but we had a unit, I think it was some railroaders that went from the beginning of the parade to the end of it. We announced it, videoed it. We had Paul Mangieri announce it, did a great job because he was like, yeah, welcome to the, and then they go by, this is, smart TD. And then that concludes.
All right. Well, a parade is a parade, I guess.
And so, we did it, and we put it out there. I don't know. It's a site from the East Coast called Union Thugs or something posted it, and we got hundreds of thousands of views from that. And so nobody argued it. That's what we kind of did. We put it out there, waiting to see if New York would argue, because it's not like we had a guy hands on deck making sure New York didn't have one.
Right.
But nobody brought up that they had one. So
now technically they are still 2 years older than us.
3.
Oh, okay, but just hasn't ran as long.
Correct.
So the parade is always welcoming entries. And by entries, it's not a contest. You don't have to necessarily be a union. But if you have an organization that wants to get in, you can talk. On Facebook, I know it circulates quite a bit. It's just basically like a Google form you fill out, right?
Yes. Yeah, as it gets closer, and I'm going to say 2 months out, so there's plenty of time.
Yeah.
And you know how it is. A lot of people will see it. Oh, I'll get to that. And, we have people do it the night before.
It doesn't cost to get in the parade.
No, it doesn't cost anything. And you just, people forward it. But when you see it, there's a link and you click on it. It's a Google document. You fill it out. You hit enter. Boom. You're in. And then we put a big map up. We number everybody so you know where you're going. The map shows where you line up, who you're behind, who you're in front of. Makes it kind of simple. But, church, real estate people, bands, United Way. In fact, they kind of help us out with it because it's kind of our day. So when they started helping the day of lining people up, it allowed our people to walk with their units.
Right.
If you're a teacher, you walk with the teachers and so on.
I know the big thing growing up, you said bands, Galesburg, Rova, Knoxville has always participated. That has kind of faded out since COVID. I know Galesburg and Rova have still been in. Knoxville has not.
Yeah, the first year.
I have a decent connection at Knoxville. I can twist the arm again.
Yeah, the first year, because I'm from Knoxville and I played in the band. And so I was let down, but then I thought, Bob retired. And, I will say Bob was dedicated. He would fill that sucker out because we announce as you go by. And so before they get there, so you can listen to him play. But he would fill out the history, blah, 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 spot on every year, 2-3 weeks early. And so since Bob, we get new people and they're not from here. Right. They don't know the parades we do. So the first year was kind of a given. Okay, so I come to the high school and said, hey, and the principal pulled the guy in and said, hey, we do this parade. Oh, okay, And then the next year we had a new teacher. So I had to go through it again. And
I know. I don't know how far this podcast reaches, but I guess if anybody out there has any connections to bands of any, it doesn't have to be a marching band. I mean, if you want to put a band on a trailer.
Yeah.
I mean.
We've often talked about, like Knox College has an orchestra. It'd be cool if they, like in midway of the Titanic when a ship's going down, they got that 3-piece going. If that was playing, I don't think any person would not think that was cool. Going down.
Oh, I agree.
But like the neighboring communities, I know some don't have bands, but, from Brimfield to Woodhull to wherever, if they wanted to participate, they're more than welcome. The more bands, the better. When I was a kid, that's what I remember.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Your stomach bouncing from the drums and stuff.
So continuing with Randy's dedication to his community and his service, he was an elected official, on the Knoxville School Board for 2 terms, 8 years. Is that right?
Just one.
Oh, just one.
Yeah.
All right. They weren't lucky enough to have you for 8.
Yeah, no.
But Randy was on during a very interesting time, I would say. what year did you get on?
I believe it was 13 through 17. Like it would have been eight years ago. Like right now it's an election, so 8 years ago.
Okay. So what is it, 25? Yeah, 13. So what, I guess your definition of a school board member and their role, having been someone who's done it, is what?
Well, just in the big picture, the school board hires the superintendent. Superintendent hires the principals. Principals run their school, or the head of the maintenance, head of the food people. There's a person in charge of that. They take care of that. Each building principal takes care of hiring those, and you just trust that they do their job. If they hire somebody wrong, then it looks bad on them, and then the superintendent decides what they're going to do. If they keep letting shit go, then you look at the superintendent. But, as far as agendas for coaches or this or that, I mean, you need to leave that shit outside.
Right. Sadly enough, a lot of us in the school system feel there is an agenda, not by everybody. I truly think the majority of people are here for the right reasons, but ego gets in the way, especially after like COVID year, everything changed.
Yeah.
And I think people had great opinions on how it should continue afterwards. And then that's, in my opinion, where that, started to go down. But you were responsible, one of the ones responsible for bringing the new school to Knoxville.
Yeah. Like to understand, like my first meeting, I got sworn in, and then we were okaying bids for the school. Before that, I had attended meetings where they invited the community to come, and they threw design ideas, and people would, I like this or I don't like that kind of thing. But the previous board, they designed and got the bids out and all that stuff. So I just kind of come in on a tail end and all the building of it, breaking of the dirt, all that stuff.
Yeah. So the design was done before you got there.
Correct.
Now, like we said about the track, it's a nice building, especially from pictures. It's curved. Was that the most fiscally responsible way to
in
go
hindsight,
about it?
and just from being what I'm around, and I've since then worked for the company that built this, but for obviously a different guy. The guy who was pushing this one retired, but a younger fella. But we got talking, a rectangle or straight, obviously, I mean, saves you between 30 and 35%, because if you ever was to look above the ceiling tires of that bend, every electrical conduit, every water pipe, every sprinkler pipe, it only goes straight for a little while, but then you're going to bump into the other side, and you
got to elbow it over.
Yeah, a lot of elbows, a lot of stuff, and it aesthetically it looks really good. If you throw in, because the designers threw it in about if somebody ever did break in here, they don't have sight all the way through, which, as a security thing, that's a good idea, and you can nitpick anything.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely a beautiful building.
100%. So I'd say that was probably your highlight of your time on the board. I could be wrong. But what are some worst parts? Like, what was did you run into any sketchy business?
Well, there's a lot of personalities, a lot of, I don't know. It's hard to dive into it, but I will do it. For instance, a fellow I graduated with went to United. He was at Lexus first, I believe, and then what's the word for that? Consolidated. Became United. So the other, Yorkwood and Warren, they retired, and so he took over the whole thing from year one. And I'm sure he ate some shit for that too, because everybody does when you do that. But him as an individual, I mean, I thought they ran everything good. My kids were going to school there, so I got to see it pretty often. And I would go to functions. My daughter was part of the homecoming parade or whatever the hell you call them.
The court.
There you go. And so I went to a football game, and I paid to get in, and I'm walking up, and you walk right past the concession stand, and there he is handing waters. He's not up front just, what do you need? He's back there hustling and stuff. And then the game got going, and he wasn't announcing, but he was playing the music. He did announce for the homecoming court, and he did mispronounce my ex-wife's name, which was awesome of him.
That's a perk.
Good buddy. Pulled me a happy.
Was that done on purpose or?
Yeah. But it's like at track meets, he's running the high jump. He's running the triple jump.
Yeah.
He was hands-on. He had a license to drive. Like right now, look at our bus problem.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen that on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
He had a school bus license. If they had too many people sick, he knew the routes, and so I would just badger the shit out of our superintendent for not doing that, because I always felt like he just stood there at the entrance of the football game shaking hands like he's Donald Trump,
Yeah.
And stuff like that was kind of aggravating.
So I know you were there's a big, I don't even know, I won't even call it a big scandal during your time. Maybe it wasn't I think it was during your time, maybe not. But Heb always talks about the computer cases.
Oh, yeah.
And it just gets him fired up. What's, as deep as you want to go, what's the story on the computer cases? Just to set a picture of whether it was on the up and up or not, there's little things when you talked about multiple personalities that might be correct, but it sure doesn't seem that way.
What is it we called it when we went to computers, no books? There was a name for that.
Who knows? I don't know.
They had some official statewide name for when you went to that, and obviously I can't remember it, but we were going to that, and I remember Bob was fighting cancer at the time, so he was making, every few meetings, but I remember the bid for those come up for the computers. Every kid was going to get a computer to take home. And I remember asking, is this that bid? Did we get multiple bids? Who did we get this from? Oh, this factory direct. Oh. Yeah. And I just took that,
Right.
If somebody tells you something, by God, you believe that.
Right.
And so time went on, and I was informed by somebody, and then so I started looking into, and then we had purchased all this stuff from an employee of the school who had a company out of Florida.
Right. So it's kind of an inside job.
Yeah, and I, it seemed kind of dishonest to me, and so I remember asking about it.
Well, I'm sure there was some commission involved.
I can talk about this. This was an open meeting, and I said, what's the deal with us buying computers from that guy? Oh, he don't own that company anymore. And just without saying names, we'll call him Captain Handjob.
Right.
And I said no, because that particular morning, you can, like Secretary of State of Illinois, you can look up corporations and stuff.
Yeah.
Tells you who their members are, all this stuff. So I did that in Florida, and I did it that morning just to make sure that they didn't sell, And second time was no, and then the third one I was like, oh no, Yep.
Yeah, it just.
And so I was like, after that, I remember looking around like, hey, a lie, and then come clean about it.
Right.
And it's like, well, you said it was factory direct, whatnot. And he goes, well, since we know we get good prices, but how do we know that?
Yeah.
And if we are, why didn't you just tell us?
Right.
And so
it just raises a lot of questions.
It really does.
Which the problem is, from there on to the future, the same captain you speak of, it makes you question other things. Like I said, could be totally on the up and up.
Yeah.
But if there's any shady, you
do start questioning things, and you do start calling the office he sits in Bullshit Mountain and things like that. And,
I mean, the same people involved. I think this was before you were on the board, but like my dad was, we'll just say, he was a bus driver, let's say, of a district very similar to ours. Well, that's what we'll call it. And it was in the winter, and he fell at the bus garage, broke his ankle. He was off, whatever it was. Goes back to work, and one of the other drivers said, workman's comp's not too bad, is it? Tax-free. He's like, what do you mean? Like, workman's comp. He's like, I'm still getting paid normal. Well, he did a little investigating, called the workman's comp. His workman's comp checks were sent to an office, signed and cashed, but he had never seen them.
Wow.
So, my dad being the level-headed calm, not overreactive person he was.
Is that sarcasm?
Yes. Had a gentle conversation that may have led one thing to another, may have involved attorneys, may have involved hush agreements. But when stuff like that happens, I didn't sign a hush agreement, so that's why I'm not hush. Mm-hmm. But I'm also being nicer than some people are going to think I'm being by discussing it in code. But how do you not question, not everybody, but that person and those around them from that point forward?
Well, it's a small town, man. And I remember when the school was being built, I remember going by Mabel Woolsey, and it's like I seen concrete trucks dumping out there, and it's like I'd call superintendent, and we're allowing them to do it there. They're going to clean it. They've agreed to clean up afterwards. They're going to pick up all that stuff.
This is where like their spare concrete, they get rid of it, clean the trucks out.
Yeah, because they got to dump it somewhere. But then after it hardens, you can scoop it up and put it in trucks and just haul it to a fill or something. But in the end, nobody did that. They just shoved the shit. There's concrete in there. And the same thing happened, if you recall, over here at the practice field, And I remember okaying that bid that this company was going to come in, clean all the concrete out, supposedly, and spread that dirt. Because if you remember the elevation of the sidewalks out here are completely different than they used to be.
Right.
So they did it. It's not like, we all have jobs. Mm-hmm. As board members, you can't come out here and watch them.
Well, isn't the old school buried there, a lot of it?
There is some. I mean,
it's not unusable, but it's unusable.
Yeah.
There's risk involved if you're out there.
We went out there, 6 years ago, I think, and it was before the football season. I think it was spring. It was like this time of year because grass would grow up, and where it wouldn't grow, you knew something was there. Right. So we'd poke screwdrivers, and we'd hit concrete, so then we'd get a shovel out, and there was probably 20 people that volunteered to come out, and we made a pile that would fill a personal pickup truck.
Right.
And there was curb from the old track. There's bricks, there was cast iron pipe.
That's crazy.
And it's like, who...
Again, needed to get it done, didn't think ahead.
Well, not just that, but overwatch,
Right.
Like watching it, and if they did shit like that, you just don't pay them till they fix it right. And, and I know we were the ones supposedly on watch, but I mean... We can't be here for that. You trust your guy to watch that, or the guy that we hired to watch it. But
so in retirement, I'm assuming back on the school board, nothing you'd be interested in doing again if the opportunity arose.
No, with being retired, I remember that 4 years, 48 months. So I have 48 meetings, but we ended up 95, I think. And if you're going to run for something, you're going to be there. And I missed, I think, 2. And it's like, I want to travel and whatnot. I don't want to have to be around here. And it's like, if anybody wants to, I think they should. Mm-hmm. If they, some people ask me if you ought to run because, liked how you did this. It's like, well, then just do that.
Right.
Go run and do things the right way.
It's easier from the other side to say,
it really is.
You should do this.
Because, you get to ask somebody else to do the dirty work for you.
Well, that's like, I just went through my first round. I was on negotiations. And from the outside, it's like, I'm on there. This is what I'm going to do. Well, you go in there, you give your opinion, but it's still a democracy. So you learn a lot through the process of, all right, it's different. Like, I've coached basketball. I'm a much better coach from the bleachers than I am the bench, I'm sure. You know what I mean? It's the same concept. But I agree, and I guess around COVID year, a lot of people did. A lot of people said, I'm going to get on. Well, they did it. So kudos to them, Even if you don't agree with everything, they had more guts than other people talking about it. So I guess their head was in the right spot, and they worked for what they thought was right.
It's a thankless job. I mean, you don't do it for the pay, but you don't get paid. Right. You have to further your education every year. So the school spends money. You go up to Chicago for a weekend, and you take these classes about various different things, negotiating being one of them. There's several different things you can do. And so you do these. And what's funny is the state reps and all that stuff, you have to do that. You know, they made it a law or whatever you would call it to go do that. Yet the representatives and stuff, they don't have to do anything. and they get paid whatever it is they get paid. Like
kind of odd.
Maybe they all should take ethics, first of all, or something like that.
But, over the years, we've had our share of trips, not big trips, just local trips. It started off with an air quote Christmas shopping trip that ended up being gambling at bars with slot machines.
Yes.
One trip in particular, you hit one heck of a run in Peoria that, of all places, started in a very unique location.
Yeah.
With a very big win.
Big house.
Yes. And I believe you...
And you had to face the wall to play this game.
Yeah. And I believe you cashed out over $1,000.
Yeah, it's $1,200, I believe.
And ironically, we accidentally told some of the employees that work in the establishment,
earning that kind of money.
He has $1,000 cash on him.
So we got the fuck out of there.
Yeah, we bolted. But then the next place we go,
boom,
$600. Next place, I don't know, but it was just a heck of a run. I do not do that. However, when we tried to do this the other day, we talked about it. You sent me a video. Where was that at? You went back and found the wildlife a couple nights ago.
I'm trying to think where it was. Oh, that was at PZ's.
And it hit.
Yeah.
Did you get all 3 wilds in the middle?
Yes.
Not bad. I'm not.
Yeah, with I think I had 5 spins left, and so I ended up with 6 something.
That ain't bad.
Yeah.
Free dinner.
Allegedly, in case there's a tax guy
listening. Yes, you did. That did
but
not happen.
Obviously, you know how it is.
Oh yeah.
If I've won that, I've lost that.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen bad nights of you chasing those wilds. But that's not why I don't do it. I don't do it because I don't have money to do it. But I like to do it. But thankfully, I can go now and see the machines and whatever. But I will. Here in a couple weeks, I'll have my Duffy's Day. I'll put aside some money for that. We also serve together as president and vice president of the Knoxville Letterman's Club. I know that sounds very distinguished. It is, but at the same time, it's not. It's not like a suit and tie thing. For those that don't know, the Letterman's Club, anybody who attended Knoxville High School, don't even have to graduate from here, but if you earned a letter, whether it be sports, music, academics, whatever we give letters for, the Ks, you are invited. It's homecoming. It's the night of the football game. It's $10 to get in. You get a meal.
Homecoming football game.
Yeah. What did I say?
Just football game.
Oh, homecoming football game. Yeah. You get a meal. You get to see people from your past. You get a guest speaker.
You get a meal. You get a free ticket into the game.
Yeah, free ticket in the game should you choose to go. It really is a nice camaraderie thing. It's actually starting to piddle off a little bit. We have some ways to hopefully build that back up. But, yeah, for those interested, it's a good time. I think if Rick Reed was here, he'd tell us it's the only one left or the longest one. I don't know what he says. He always has some stat about it.
Say it loudly.
Yeah. It's probably inaccurate, but we believe it because it's Rick.
But no, I
know it's been going on a long time.
A few years ago, for anybody who hadn't been in the last 10 years, Chad started having somebody speak every year, and that's been, to me, awesome. D.O, was he one of the first ones?
He was the first one I had.
Yeah.
I knew back in the day, like right out of high school when I was going, like I remember listening to John Liston.
Yeah.
And then that went away. But then there's really, you lose the reason to go, So I brought it back, and D-Dub was the first one. That was
you did a great job.
That was a big night.
And then, you've had Denny, you've had Kurt, you've had Dugan.
Mike Kemmer.
Engelbretson.
Ron Nelson was last year.
Yeah, and it was good. I mean, it's sad more people couldn't hear it because he really touched on a good perspective.
It just, each guest you think's going to talk about, but they all hit something different.
Yeah.
And it makes you think. A lot of people think since it's football homecoming, it's a football banquet. It is not. If you were
it's before a football
valedictorian
game,
and you got your letter for academics, you're welcome.
It's just a lot of people are back for homecoming. That's why we hold it on homecoming, because there's a lot of, what would you call them, reunions and whatnot.
Yeah, so for the most part.
And last year, there's a guy that grew up down the street from me. I went to school with his younger brother, but I had not seen him since he graduated. So we're talking 40 years. And so it took me a couple minutes, but I figured out who he was. And to me, that was super cool. I wouldn't have bumped into him there.
Yeah. So once that gets closer, I don't know when homecoming is next year, September, October-ish. but that'll circulate through Facebook. We're going to have some all calls go out from the school just to try to regrow it. It's a good night. We also, I'm currently the chairman of the Knoxville High School Athletic Hall of Fame. You serve on the committee as a voting member. We kicked that off in 2023. Actually, it started about 2021 sometime, but we inducted our first person in 2023, and it's been a stalemate ever since.
Yeah.
Apparently, we were not doing it correctly for some. And I was told it was incorrect, but wasn't told how to correct it, really.
I guess in case anybody doesn't understand it, I don't know, we weren't asking the school for anything except wall space, I guess, to put stuff. And we wanted to recognize a few people each year. Of course, you can't get everybody at one time.
No.
You can't, or then you have nobody to do for the next 10, 20 years. And so I don't know what happened, but it kind of come to a stop. I think it's a good thing. You did a lot of homework for.
Yeah, I mean, I met with Galesburg's committee and their chairman and got bylaws written, got a process. And I remember when I was putting it together, like I put it together, I used older people, younger people, current people, board members, people that are just random, really, because it's not just me and my buddies sitting around picking who we think is the best. It's a process. If you're nominated, you're always nominated. We read your nomination every year, and then we vote based on what your nomination says. And just because, for example, this person didn't get on first, that doesn't mean they aren't deserving or they're not going to get on. Mm-hmm. Just means there's a process. And we tried to get it. There were some elderly past coaches, which we have since lost one before we've got him in. You steer that way first. All are deserving. But anybody, like somebody across the street can come over to the high school, get a paper, and they can vote if they know somebody.
If you think about it, you got to do the first one till anybody even really knows about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, then people start filling things out. And,
absolutely.
And you can run it. But the first time, you got to get it going, So.
And I hope, principals told me, it's not dead. It's just, it's in limbo. And there's a thought process as to how it's going to continue. I don't know if that's with us or with not, but I just hope it continues because
you had an outside sponsor that was going to take care of everything.
Yeah, it was
didn't have to do fundraising.
Completely funded, essentially. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. But I guess if it gets chosen to go a different route, hopefully it works out. More power to them. So personally, you are a father of 2 daughters, McKenna. And I always forget the other one. Miranda, God.
Miranda being my oldest.
And Miranda gave you your first granddaughter.
Correct.
Sage. How old is she now?
1.5 years.
So that's got to be fun.
It is. It's different. She looks just like her mom did when she was little. She come in sideways. It's almost the opposite of a cleft palate. It was overgrown, so she couldn't breathe through her sinuses. The wall on the top of her mouth wasn't open. And of course you don't know that. She looks normal. And so she came out and they put her on, she latched on, and of course she's a newborn, doesn't know anything.
Right.
But she knew how to do that and turned blue because she can't breathe through her nose. So then straight to a children's hospital. They were out in Virginia, and they got everything good. I flew out there immediately. I'm just imagining, gosh, how long without oxygen, all this kind of stuff. But everything turned out fine. She had 3 different surgeries, and she's as normal as you can expect. She's very smart. So, unlike
she is your granddaughter.
She's. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That would be terrifying.
Hopefully she applies herself better than I did in school.
Yeah. And I believe they just moved back to the area. They were out east. Now they're back.
Yeah, he's a lineman. She does wedding hair, and they wanted to come back closer to family. So he got a job north of here, about 45 minutes. And so, like last night, that's where I had taco night with them. So.
Well, that's good. And your other daughter is in the Air Force, correct?
Yeah. She spent her first 5.5 years. She signed up for 6 in North Carolina. And then she signed up for 4 more, so she got to kind of pick where she's going, and she ended up in Nellis out in Las Vegas. And she seems to like it. She's got a big 3-bedroom place. It's in a gated area, so I can pick either guest room because she's unmarried or anything like that. She just got a dog. So it was actually the first thing I did when I retired. I flew out to her, drove the moving van across the country, which was pretty exciting. So,
yeah, that would be kind of fun. Long, probably tiresome.
Kind of Route 66 type of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So obviously you travel to see them as often as possible, and like the convenience is, oldest daughter and granddaughter are literally one drive away.
Yeah.
You're there in 40 minutes.
Yeah, that saves a lot of flights, and then a lot of, you just can't up and go.
And really, if you think about it, you're only 3 hours from your other daughter.
Right. Yeah, she's further than North Carolina was, but closer because of the Allegiant flight from Peoria or Moline. So I can be there very quickly.
So speaking of travels, in your retirement, and maybe even before your retirement, I guess, you have become quite the cruise goer.
Yeah, I used to just fly. I'd do the Allegiant thing a lot. I'd fly to Sanford and just get a rental car and crash on the beach for a while, and off season, you can get right on the beach for $80 a day, and I'd eat the Waffle Houses and just living it up. And then I took my first cruise a few years ago and just enjoyed it. And for bang for the buck, because if you look at hotel, 3 squares, blah, blah, blah. And plus you're getting to see things. So I've kind of fell in love with that. It's an easy way for me to get away. I spend $60 a day here feeding myself, and it's basically $120 a day for me to be on a cruise. So
and that includes, that's
for $60 more a day, I'm seeing some better things, better weather, better angle of sun.
And you have there's one coming up, I think. Don't you have one booked now?
Yeah, middle April.
It's almost April, isn't it?
Yeah.
Holy cow, that's next week. You have a favorite cruise line? Is there one you recommend?
MSC. A lot of people just haven't heard of it. I think they're getting more known now because they advertise a lot. I noticed during football playoffs and Super Bowl and all that. But I started on that because being a single person, I didn't have to pay for both sides of the room. And they were the only ones that did that. So I was like, I wasn't going to, say something's $1,000 per person. That's pretty cheap. But if you're paying 2.
Yeah.
So I took it and just loved it. The first ship was the Meraviglia, and it left from Orlando or Port Canaveral, and loved it. That ship has since moved to New York, and I'll go to New York to take it because it's a beautiful ship. But the ones down there now that MSC has are the Seaside class or whatever. They're a little bit bigger. They're fine. I like their service. I like their people. It's not overabundant with children like a Carnival is whenever I go on it.
So I've never been on a cruise. The wife said she would go on one, and I was always dead set against it. But the more I've talked to you about it, it seems like something I could do. But I'm always worried, I'll get sick.
Yeah.
Once you're seasick, you're screwed.
Well, that heavy storm we had, because I moved my daughter to Vegas, flew to Miami, took a cruise, went to see my other daughter for a week, and then I took that cruise from New York. And we actually, when we were going down by the eastern coast by Miami, we were 50 miles off when Miami and Fort Lauderdale got that 12 inches of rain, whatever it was. So that hit us. So we were eating. I was seated with a family of 3, and that was our first cruise. And I looked out the porthole, and you could just see these waves. And then it was like somebody spraying a fire hose on the window. And they looked out, and they were just in disbelief because we were sitting there eating with, open glasses of booze, whatever you had, and you couldn't feel nothing.
That's crazy.
Yeah. They got these wings that come out under the water now that just sense things and keep you stable. And they said they brought pills, patches, whatever, and they haven't had to use any of them. So anybody that thinks you're going to get seasick, you're thinking back during the Love Boat days when they were a quarter the size they are now.
And my other thing is the ocean terrifies me. Yeah. I'm in awe of the ocean, but just knowing it'd be the middle of the night and I go out and I look and There's a mile of water below me, and no one knows what's in that water.
Yeah.
Horrendous.
I don't know. I think, like, if you got up early and watched the sun come up, watch the sun go down at night, you probably get over that, because the sunsets, sunrises are just unbelievable in the water. When it's nothing but water, it's super.
Yeah, I can imagine. I don't know, I freak myself out, but I'm sure eventually I'll try one. I mean, especially if I went north to Alaska. That'd be, Alaska cruise would be cool.
That's on my bucket list.
So for the people who've not cruised, what's your tips? I'm sure you got some tips over the years of doing your cruises.
I like going January, February, September, October. September, October are more inclined to where you might have a hurricane issue or something. I never have. I got back from one last October, and then a hurricane come. So I caught an earlier flight to get home, fortunately, because they shut the airport down the next day. But, if you line one up, get the insurance. If a hurricane's coming and they cancel it, I guess just redo it. But it's not common. January, February, it's great because it's colder than shit here, and you get in the warmth.
Right.
And it's like 80s every day. I've usually had great sun weather. You're getting away from here,
Now, are cruises all inclusive, or can they be?
They're all inclusive as far as the food and like iced tea, juices, stuff like that. You can add a drink, like there's non-alcoholic drink packages, which I've done. There are alcoholic drink packages.
So what's a non-alcoholic drink package, like pop?
Well, it would be soda, all your specialty coffees.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's where it's at.
Okay.
Is that kind of stuff. So I'll get my money's worth out of that.
Yeah. But yeah, if I'm on vacation, I need the drink package if there's one available.
Yeah. and it's worth it. I mean, you go, you know how it is. You go to a Cub or Cardinal ball game, $15 a beer.
Yeah.
And I think on the cruise ships, they sell just the common margarita. It's $10. So, I mean, if you have a couple of coffees in the morning, several margaritas, you're
more than paid for.
Oh, yeah.
The weather's getting nicer, and I see when you cruised up today, I forgot you had a new toy out there. When did you get that?
I got it in February.
So there's a little, I don't know what kind. It's a Jaguar, I know.
Yeah.
Jaguar convertible. He come rolling in style today. Did you fly to?
I flew to Miami and.
Like, did you have it picked out, or you flew to Miami knowing you had to buy a car to get home?
No, I knew the car.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I flew down and get it and drove it back. I figured if there's any bugs in it, I'd figure it out on the way back. And it made it back fine. Some vibrations. I took it in, got some of the wheels rebalanced, stuff like that. It had new tires on it. So
Randy is, in my opinion, I've always appreciated his friendship, his willingness to help. As we've talked, he's volunteered his time to help build things. He's volunteered his time on school boards. He's still active in the school community with the Hall of Fame, with the Letterman's Club. He helps out the football team. He makes them breakfast. He helps. He donates. He's also willing to share the breakfast table, dinner table, however you want to put it, with anybody who's willing.
Yeah.
So if you ever walk into a restaurant and you see a gentleman maybe playing in his food and giggling,
sit on down.
Yeah, it's Randy.
I think I took Mulvey on a how-to trip one day. I think there's a good picture of that one.
Yeah. But, so I appreciate you coming in, sitting down. I'm sure we'll, as time goes on, we'll do it again, be a little more laid back. I'm still working out the kinks, but I appreciate and thank everyone for listening. As always, like, share, follow. You can find on Facebook. I have a Facebook page. All the videos will be posted there. Actually, they're not videos. It's just audio. It'll say it's a YouTube video because I can be found on YouTube, but it's just audio. You can also find it on Spotify, which you can listen wherever you so choose. But once again, Randy, thank you for coming in. Thank you all for listening. And we will see everyone next time on the Dirty D.O podcast.